Welcome back, travelers. The summer update is in its turn, bringing us a sea of positive emotions and heartily filling our wallets with primo gems, which many put aside for the new over-the-edge characters, who were officially announced to us not so long ago. And therefore, in order not to spend primo gems right before the release of the desired character, I suggest you sit down comfortably and figure out in which versions these or those characters can be released in order to be prepared for them, so it will be useful and interesting. Well, let's start with the fact that I will mainly rely on my old theory, which says that in the teaser of all the characters, we are shown more or less in the order in which they will be released in the game. And this theory has already proven itself to be working with the characters Fontaine and Natlan, although with the latter it began to fail towards the end. Top-up crystals from lootbar.gg. It's 100% safe and secure top-up platform for games like Honkai, Star Rail, and Genshin Impact. PS5 and Xbox players can also. Raiden Shotgun and Teviat times are using for crystals. Save up to 25% of actual in-game price and get 10% discount coupon. Go to Lootbar, then Genshin Impact. Choose pack, put UID, select region, and pay. Get double the currency for first-time top-up. Link description and pin comment. But in general, you can still rely on it in a conversation about early versions. But in later updates, it is not very clear at the moment. Oh well, let's not drag it out any longer and move on to what we are all here for. And let's start with the officially announced Lightbearers Flynns, the High Priestess Lauma, and the brilliant mechanic Aino, who will be released in version 6.0 along with the release of Nod Cry. Then, in the trailer, we are shown two characters at once. This is a dragon in human form Durin, who, as we said in one of our previous videos, can in theory become a two-handed sword and a berry, about which at the moment we know almost nothing. Except that, judging by its appearance, it can theoretically be an epic character. Well, following our theory, they can be released in version 6.1 banners. Although, according to rumors, it is said that they could theoretically be released in version 6.2 banners. Next in the trailer, we see the seventh harbinger of Fatui and Sandrone, about whom we also talked in more detail in a separate video. In the trailer, she is shown third, and, following our theory, she could be released in version 6.3 banner. But, as we know, this theory does not apply to harbingers and archons. And that is why, given that Sandrone is a harbinger, we can assume that she will be released in later versions of the region, for example, version 6.5 or 6.7 banner. So, let's move on to the next character shown in the teaser. She was Lauma's assistant and right-hand Nefer, who, as I understand it, is based on Nefertiti and, as was seen from the trailer, will have the Dendro element. And judging by the trailer, in theory, it can already become a game version 6.2 banner. Although here, the rumors once again diverge from the theory and say that it most likely has a chance to be released in version 6.1 banner. But, as for me, this is rather doubtful, since usually the developers do not release new characters of the same element one after another. So, further on in the trailer, we were shown a member of the Witch's Sabbath, the guide Nicole, who, judging by the trailer, in theory can become the first playable witch in the game. And according to our theory, most likely, it can already be released in version 6.3 banner. But since there will be no new Archon in the Overedge, then judging by all the trailers, this place in theory can be taken by Columbina. Therefore, there is a possibility that Nicole can either be postponed to version 6.4 or released along with Columbina, which also coincides with the rumors. After Nicole, we were shown Magister Ordafani Welding, which we have already talked about many times. I will only add that in the trailer, we were shown him as a two-handed anomaly, and, as everyone assumed, with Wolf's Doom. Following our logic, he may come out somewhere in Update 6.4, which also coincides with the rumors. The next one we were shown was the third harbinger of Fatui Columbina. We have already talked about her. According to my theory, she has a chance to come out instead of Archon version 6.3 banner. But since she is also a harbinger, when she will come out is not entirely clear. And the last character that we were shown in the trailer was the elder of the Witches' Coven, Alice, who, as was seen in the trailer, will become a Pyroper character. Exploring our theory, it is possible that she will come out in version 6.5. But, considering that precursors may come out in these versions, then Alice, as a rather important character for the game, may be moved. And in this case, the most logical option for her becomes version 6.1 banner. Due to the fact that Alice is quite closely connected with the summer event, as I said earlier, due to the fact that the theory begins to fail on the last characters. Therefore, I think Alice is worth waiting for in later versions, and personally, I can assume that it will be version 6.8 for fairly obvious reasons, which we discussed earlier. Well, that's how things are. Be sure to write in the comments which of the characters of the Edge you are waiting for the most, and we'll hear from you again. Bye.